Hey friends, so I'm realizing I'm starting to have this pattern with how I'm approaching my YouTube videos, which is that I literally kind of scroll through Twitter until I encounter something that triggers some kind of response in me. And then instead of replying to the tweet, which is mixed, it's a mixed bag sometimes, I make a video about it where I can be much more nuanced, I can correct myself, I can express internal conflict, and I think it's just a way better way of expressing myself, I think, and probably more useful to people than if they just read text. Anyway, so the latest thing that is on my mind is I saw a friend talk about how part of him wants to ship a blog post this week, and another part of him wants to like rescope it and change the thing and re-architect it and do all kinds of different things with it. And someone else was kind of like, haha, yeah, me too. And I recognize that impulse in myself as well. I have been reworking my second ebook for freaking years. I started writing it in like 2018, and I have been reworking it, and I do understand the impulse and the feeling and the compulsion. And at the same time, I also think it can simultaneously be a kind of escapism, which is to constantly put off something from being produced now because you have a sense of perfectionism and a sense of what I'm doing right now is not good enough. I can't live up to my taste. I can't gratify my taste, like the Ira Glass speech, right, quote that he says in something. I'll post a link. And I guess I want to talk about escapism and like I want to, like, the idea that you want to do something as a sort of future casting something into the future so that you don't have to deal with it now, right? Remind me later, next time. Like, you do that, you don't want to live your life like that. It's understandable that you do it from time to time. Now I do it all the time, and this is really, I'm calling myself out, right? And I'm calling you out at the same time. And one of my things is that someday I would like to write this big sprawling fantasy or sci-fi novel about that's like based in kind of Indian and Hindu mythology and folk stories and stuff like that. And yeah, in my head I'm always like, it's 10 years out, 20 years out, I got to do all this research before I can write it. And the truth is, if I want to write a novel 20 years from now, I can't start on it 20 years from now. I should start now, and I should write like a little sketch. I should write like little vignettes, right? Little one-page exchanges, interactions, little sketches of characters, little sketches of plot, little bits of world building. Like, I got to do all of that now, and I should share it with other people so that I can get their feedback and I can understand how people respond to my ideas. Because the longer I put something off, and the more I kind of build up my own expectations for what it's supposed to achieve, and the more there's like that kind of sunk cost to it. And very often I think projects that get kind of the longer you delay a project and the more you kind of decide to rework it 3 years out, like, historically I think projects that do that kind of thing very seldom work out well. I think of like video games, like Duke Nukem Forever was terrible, and I mean, from what I've heard, and nobody talks about it. Like, people played it and it's like, meh. And it's because they had to redo the whole engine and they had to redo everything multiple times. I think something like that may have happened with Cyberpunk, but I think that's a different story. That's like managed. Let's not go there. But I think Axl Rose and his album Chinese Democracy, the Guns N' Roses album that he did effectively by himself, there are some great songs on it, but the album as a whole, kind of, by the time it came out, like, all the anticipation and build up, people kind of got a bit worn out. People kind of got I think Doom 3, something similar might have happened. But okay, I won't claim to be an authority on how other people do their projects, and I would have to dig much deeper and do some research and really get into the blood and guts of what exactly happened in these projects. But I'm trying to talk about, like, at a meta level, at a kind of bigger picture, a person's relationship to their work. So like right now, this is very gratifying for me that I am publishing a video every day. Every one of these videos is completely improvised. I'm just kind of riffing, and I don't have a plan where I'm going with the video while I'm making it. So, what am I going to say in the next 5 minutes? I don't know. You don't know, right? That's part of the fun. And by doing this repeatedly, regularly, I develop a voice, I develop a sense of rhythm, I develop an idea of what are the things I care about, and there are certain paths that I take. It's like taking a random walk through a city every day rather than obsessing about the perfect day or the perfect tour, right? Like, it's never going to be perfect, and the longer you put off something hoping that one day you'll have the perfect thing, the greater your expectations are, and so the greater the capacity for disappointment, right? That's what I kind of want to, so that's part of why I'm talking about this. One is I want to protect myself and my friends from unnecessary avoidable disappointment. The other thing is kind of selfishly, I just want to see your stuff. Just show me your stuff, right? Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, show me your draft, send your draft around to your friends. Like, don't kind of work in isolation. I mean, you can, I don't want to dismiss people who are working in isolation, but so I think in your heart if you're avoiding something, and I at least I do. I know when I'm avoiding something, I should really just freaking speed run the writing of my second ebook and just publish it and move on to the next thing immediately. I was reading about a couple of tweets about how finite and infinite games, and another book. So that's one book. Another book was I think the French Revolution, some revolution book by Thomas Carlyle. Like, both of these books, the authors had come up with really elaborate manuscripts, and then they were lost or damaged. I think for Finite and Infinite Games, he lost the manuscript, and for Thomas Carlyle, he had like a maid or someone who got rid of it. And in both cases, like, getting rid of all that stuff and starting from scratch kind of gave their work like a vitality and a freedom. Like, they drop all the footnotes and all the references, and they just kind of write from the heart straight. And I know that contradicts something like I know for like large code bases, like in companies, software companies, like there's this wisdom for large companies with large code bases that if they want to start the code base from scratch, like, it ends up being a bad idea. But that's like when you're talking about super complex things like which is effectively, I would say, like building a city. And you probably shouldn't try to demolish an entire city and build it from scratch, because a city is so rich and complex, and there's layers upon layers and the back alleys and all those things. And yeah, I would say that applies to a person's body of work. Like, your entire body of work is your city. But for each individual piece of work, I think you should probably make it with like a quick spirit in one fell swoop. And yeah, so I'm making this to encourage myself and you to just ship your shit. And if you want to do something, if you have something that you have a grand idea of, to build some grand, big, beautiful thing 20 years in the future, what would it look like if you did like a prototype of it now? Like, what if you want to paint a beautiful portrait, what would it be like to do a sketch now? What would it be like to write a few sentences about your novel now? Like, just do it now. Like, what can you do now? And in all its imperfection and all its flaws, and then you share it with, if you're shy to share it like completely publicly, what if you share it with a few friends, right, that you trust? And I just want to encourage people to make more stuff, and I want to encourage people to be more comfortable with imperfection and with things that don't look great, don't sound great, but like, are going somewhere, because we're all going somewhere. Right, I'm gonna end there. Done.